Hello again, friends, and thanks for joining us again here at Bigfoot Lake. Hope you're all doing well tonight. We've been busy getting our garden planted. It's always good to get out and get my hands in the dirt, get that dirt underneath your fingernails. Just something special about that connection to the earth. So what about you guys? Do you guys plant a garden? What other ways do you guys connect with the earth? Now tonight we have 3 encounters to share. One from the state of Wisconsin, one from the Onondaga Indian Reservation, and one from South Carolina. So grab your favorite stump and pull it up close to the fire, and let's dive into our first encounter. There's a town just southwest of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's pretty well known for being haunted. The locals in the area don't like people snooping around because of some unfortunate vandalism. Because of this, you can't simply Google where to find the sites. I spent about a week searching there for the church, the schoolhouse, the cemetery, and the old dock, where these ghostly encounters typically happen. A group of friends came with me to check this place out. We drove over the bridge and down the twisting country roads. The pavement turned to gravel, and the road narrowed. On the left we could see the old dock, but we wanted to get to the cemetery first, so we kept driving. We came to the bottom of a hill. There were steep drop-offs on each side. As we got to the top of the hill, we could see the little cemetery. I pulled in the small, discreet driveway, and my 6 friends and I got out to explore. While we were in the cemetery, we heard what sounded almost like laughing and knocking coming from the woods. We didn't think too much of it, so we walked down to the old dock where we heard some rocks being thrown into the river. We started to think maybe the ghost stories were true. This is when 2 of my friends said they saw something big moving in the woods. We were all pretty freaked out, so we ran back up to my SUV and started driving down the hill. This is when a log was thrown over my car. I slowed down and kept making my way down the hill while watching into the woods on either side to make sure I didn't miss any more action. It wasn't long and another log was thrown, and it landed right in front of my car. It was big enough and I couldn't drive over it or around it. And I'm not a good enough backer-upper to back all the way up the hill in the dark on the narrow road. So I got out of the car to move the log, but it was too heavy for me to move by myself. Then I heard a loud, angry, howling scream, followed by a series of loud snapping sounds. It sounded like it was close. I yelled for my friends to help me. It took 3 of us to move it. We got it out of the road and we booked it out of there. Something makes me think that not all of the activity that happens there is ghosts or hellhounds like the legends would have you think, but is instead Bigfoot. This wasn't my first run-in with a Bigfoot, but it was by far the most unpleasant. So that concludes our first encounter from the state of Wisconsin. What do you guys think of that one? Do you think it's a possibility that many reports of ghosts or these hellhounds or these mysterious legends could actually be Bigfoot encounters? What do you think of that? And what do you think of those logs being thrown? So let's dive right into our second encounter of the night. And this occurred on the Onondaga Indian Reservation. My name is Cheryl, a Mohawk Indian who grew up on the Onondaga Indian Reservation. I'll never forget when my cousin and I saw Bigfoot. We were both 11 years old on March 11th, 1975, at 11 a.m. We left my aunt's house that morning and decided to cut through the woods, thinking it would be safer than two young girls walking along the road. Throughout our walk, it seemed that we were being watched. We finally arrived at the halfway point of our journey when we reached the local abandoned gravel pits. I slid down the embankment first and my cousin followed. I started to play on the frozen mud puddle when she started to climb back up the hill to retrieve her glove. She called for me to come near her, but I didn't right away until finally her persistence frightened me. She grabbed me close and said, "A big black arm just tried to grab me." Thinking that maybe a hunter had followed us or even a large man was lurking in the woods frightened us enough to make us run for the road. As we got to the road, we both saw this big figure walk through some 6 to 8 foot sumac trees. Its head and shoulders were over the tops of the trees, and we could imagine how it could have traveled to the other side of the pit, which was at least 150 feet from where she first saw the arm. We ran the rest of the way home and told our family we had seen Bigfoot. Of course, everyone laughed at us. As the years passed by and we told the exact same story over and over, our families began to believe us. Looking back, I have concluded that Bigfoot was heading towards an underground cave that is sacred to the Onondaga. I believe this cave connects other Indian reservations by underground channels. Indian legends tell stories that Bigfoot is a spirit that protects the Indians. This is probably why no one has ever found proof of his existence. I have had many dreams about Bigfoot, where he comes back with others like him. Their calls are frightening. When I walk in the woods, I am afraid that I will see him again. I have dreamt that he will be the one to lead my people underground until the earth heals itself from all the destruction that is forecasted. It is believed that outer earth will be consumed in flames to cleanse herself, and the Indian will come up from underground to begin life again. So that is the conclusion of our second encounter. I found that one very fascinating, and that question comes up a lot. Where is the proof? And perhaps this encounter explains it. What do you guys think of that one? Let me know in the comments, and if you're enjoying these encounters, please consider hitting that thumbs up. It helps us out a lot, and we appreciate it. That brings us to our third and final encounter of tonight, and this is a creepy one. I had a really weird experience in Congaree National Park outside of Columbia, South Carolina last winter. It's a beautiful boardwalk that goes through the swamps and the cypress forest. I lived in Columbia, South Carolina, and frequented Congaree National Park, so I'm familiar with the area. I often would jump the fence and walk the boardwalk at night, as it's super peaceful to walk the swamp and hear all the wildlife. They never have a ranger or guard there after hours, so I was always alone. The last time I did this, in October of 2021, I was taking my usual stroll with flashlight in hand. I should mention, between the insects and the frogs, the sound is really loud. But then, all of a sudden, it completely stopped when I was about a mile in, and I heard what I thought was my wife call me from the trail ahead. But she wasn't there. I was alone, and she was out of town. I then heard water sloshing to my right and could see nothing with my flashlight. I chalked it up as being tired and kept moving. The wildlife started up shortly after, and everything seemed to be fine. Maybe 15 minutes later, I noticed it got eerily quiet again, and I heard swamp water sloshing on my left, but this time it was more deliberate, like somebody walking. I was in a thick portion of the cypress, and I couldn't see more than 20 feet in front of me. And then I heard my wife's voice again. Again, she wasn't with me. She was out of town, and certainly not moving through a swamp at 1 a.m. I saw what looked like a human silhouette move between the trees for a split second, but it was off. Very skinny, pale, and taller than me at 6 feet. I noped the F out of there and ran the almost 2 miles back to my truck. And I didn't slow down until I heard the wildlife again. Like I said, this is a boardwalk that's in a swamp in the boonies. Nobody is walking around in the water at night without a light, or ever. And I don't know of any animal that big that walks in bipedal pattern. And I have spent my whole life in the outdoors. I feel I should add that I wasn't drinking or sleep deprived. I just like the woods at night. I'm convinced I encountered a crawler or wendigo or something else that can mimic voices. There's no way anyone was stumbling through the swamp miles from civilization and sounds just like my wife. But then again, it is also South Carolina. So that's the conclusion of our third encounter, and I have to say that is a creepy one for sure. I don't really know what to make of this one. The voices being mimicked sounds like a place that the author had been many times, perhaps had taken his wife with him before. So what could have been mimicking his wife's voice? Very creepy, very interesting. And that strange, tall, skinny figure. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. This one is a whole new level of creepy to me. So if you enjoyed this encounter, if you enjoyed all the encounters tonight, please consider hitting that thumbs up button for us. Give us perhaps 2 stumps up. It's greatly appreciated and helps us out a lot. If you have an encounter that you would like to share with us, Doesn't have to be a novel length encounter. It can be something small. We would greatly appreciate it if you would share it with us so we can present it, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear your experiences. So yeah, our email's up on the screen there. So yeah, send us your encounters. Bigfoot Lake is built from your stories. You guys are the driving force behind Bigfoot Lake. It can't happen without you. So we appreciate you all. And with that, I think it's time to put the fire out and call it a night. And I hope you all have a great night. I hope you enjoyed the encounters tonight. And with that being said, we'll see you next time.